Hey guys, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Vincent Lee. Vincent and I go back at least 7 years. He is the CEO of Infinity Marketing, and Infinity is just a powerhouse in digital design strategy and growth. Who couldn't use that? He's got a background in media production from the University of Houston. Go Cougs! He's helped businesses, which I think is totally amazing, scale fast. He's taken one from 1 million to 20 million in revenue in under 7 years, and another from 4 million to 8 million in just two. I'm sure we're all going to want to learn how that's done. He works with a broad spectrum of different businesses. He's got a keen design for sharp eye for design and deep marketing expertise. Besides that, he's a Rotary Club and a C12 board member. And we just discussed he's a proud Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business alumni and alumnus, which is totally unreal. I'm going to turn it over, Vincent. Welcome, and can't wait to hear you speak.
Thank you, Moose, for those kind words. I really appreciate it. How's it going, guys? Appreciate you all having me. I want to say thank you to NIA. Moose, personally, thank you very much for the invitation. I see Lisa was there too. Good to see you. So I'm very excited to be here today to have a conversation with you guys to see how we can help you grow your business. So let me share my screen here and then we can get started. Just to kind of give you a good idea of the subject matters today, we're going to be talking about what I feel is really the linchpin as to why marketing is successful or it fails, right? There's a singular focus that I want to emphasize in the beginning, and then the rest is surrounding it around that central point. And then we can also talk about Q&A at the end, the last 15 minutes of my presentation. And at that time, you guys are free to just bring up anything. The other part of it during my presentation, feel free to just type in your questions on the chat, and I'll be asking some questions throughout the presentation. So I would like to make it more engaging. If I ask the question and you have the answer, feel free to yell it out, or you can type it on the chat. It's good either way, because I would like to get some opinions and thoughts and what is your background, not necessarily background, just kind of like what everybody else is thinking or feeling about the information I'm presenting today. So it helps with the conversation and getting to know what information is going to be pertinent to some of y'all or all of you guys. Okay, so let me press this button. Can you guys see my screen already? Yes, awesome. So I'm going to get started. I believe the screen is presented. Okay, so my company name is Infinity Marketing. We're a team of 30 plus people. As Musa already mentioned, we have several accomplishments and growing businesses. We work with a lot of different industry, specifically the service industry, doctors, lawyers, hospitals, full-blown construction, whereas commercial, residential, custom home, full development, technology, IT, security, restaurants, you name it, right? So what is our mission? So our mission is to grow everybody's business. Why do we want to grow business? The vision is that if everybody here at NIA, if you guys are business owners, if your business scales, you guys get to hire employees. If you hire employees, you guys will be providing a livelihood for those families that you guys are hiring, right? So I believe that owning a business is an opportunity for us to bless our community by growing our business. So that is why we're motivated to grow your business. And obviously, if your business scale, Infinity Marketing will scale too. And then we can repeat the process and bless more people that way. So that's the mission and vision of our company. But how do we grow businesses? What is the main thing, right? The main thing is brand-driven marketing with measurable results. Now, this is where the entire thing starts with, right? When it comes to marketing, everybody want to talk about what is the strategy? Is it Facebook? Is it Google? Is it AI? Is it website? Like, how do we get people? How do you reach our target audience, ideal customer profile? What is your dominant selling idea? These are the standard marketing things that you talk about in either, Goldman Sachs, which is great. Do a plug for them again. Any business that will talk to you, these are common things that everybody talks about. But the few things that people don't talk about is what is a brand-driven marketing, right? But before I get started with that, I want to kind of put it out there to NIA. If I say the word brand, right? What does a brand mean for your business? Like, what is a brand? Okay, so what will be some of the first thing that come to your mind when I say the word brand? Let me give you a few seconds here to see if anybody wants to respond. What is
the overall impression on your audience, but just
overall
the
impression?
overall.
Okay, I like that. So I think a brand is what people have come to expect from me, what your company is known as. Right. So everybody has this idea, right? It's like a perception or information about the business. They just put it that way. A brand, simply put, sorry, I had that a window. A brand is the public perception of your business identity, right? What they expect from you. And a common thing is like, what services do you provide, right? What is your unique selling proposition or dominant selling ideas, competitive advantages, right? How long have you been in business? What are you guys known for? But what people ignore about the public perception is how they feel about that brand, right? The things that you love, it's like you have a relationship. I love Apple, or I love, guitar, piano, whatever brand it is. I have a musical instrument in the back. I love Les Paul. It's a brand. I love Fender. It's a brand. These are our established brand, and they all have different feelings. Fender's great. Have heritage with musicians like John Mayer, Jimi Hendrix, and so forth, right? So they have this story behind them. So you have a feeling related with that brand, right? Now, when it comes to feeling of a brand, that affects how they choose businesses, who they want to buy, right? So you need to know your why, how, and what of your business. And your brand impacts people to buy or not buy your product, which leads to the question. When it comes to your brand, what do you think motivates people to buy or purchase? Like, we're going to do marketing. We want to sell, right? What do you think is the key to motivate people? I know there's a lot of different questions here, and I know you guys have some sales experience, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be some amazing answers here. They know what they're getting. Emotion. I like that answer, Don. Let's go with the emotion. When it comes to emotion, what is the specific emotion? Need. I like need as well. That's good. You definitely need a need. If they don't need your product, they're not going to buy. Customer service. That's another reason why people are motivated to buy. Desire. Dopamine hit is a great one. I like that one. Status. I think that's more when value exceeds investments. Okay, a good deal, or maybe return on investment. Oh, it's Doug. Hi, Doug. So I like where Don is going here. Personal attachment. Great. Now, what we want to build is personal attachment. That's the result of a good brand, is that it creates a personal attachment, which has an emotional thing, right? Customer service. Oh, there you go. Moose got the trust is the emotion that is a result. Okay. The most important emotion is trust. That's what motivates people to buy or purchase, is they trust you guys, right? Now, more specifically, why do they trust you? They trust you because of good customer service, right? And that's considered a value. But you also have a need. Now, there is, as a company, you have a need that you fulfill. As a company, you have your values, your customer service, your unique selling proposition. But on the other side, you got the customer. The customer has needs, the customer has values. When the values and the needs align with your customer and your business, then you can build that trust. But the key to build the trust is not on the need. Okay, I want to differentiate the need and the value. The need everybody offers. Like, you go to a doctor can fulfill your need, getting a prescription, getting an exam. But it's not the need that they want to choose the doctor, it's the value that they see in the doctor that's providing that service. Some of you already said customer service and all that kind of stuff, right? Quality of service, personal attachment. These values create trust. Okay. And if a brand is trustworthy, then they will want to buy from you. Which begs the question, how do you guys in your business build trust? in your business. Okay. Now, yeah, this one. So how do you build a trustworthy brand? I want you guys to think about your own business and think about the relationship, about the word trust, right? And you can think about it like from your own perspective as a human being. What makes me trust a human being? And you evaluate all these things, right? And if you start thinking about it, you're going to start noticing that everybody has a different measurement on how to build trust, how to judge somebody, right? You don't have to be even selling, even hiring people, hiring employees, right? Consistency that builds trust. That's one of the ways you do it, right? If you hire somebody, you try to trust that person, you ask questions, and then you hire them, and it turns out you trusted them that they could do the job, and they could not do this job. But that's using our own judgment. But what is it that we're looking for, right? And see, I see a bunch of answers here: reliability, consistency. Now, let's take it on a slightly different perspective here, because I want to apply it so that you can see there's a barrier when it comes to marketing. Reliable and consistency and excellence. These are all great things that build trust. And I think this is what everybody says to their customer when they try to sell it. But then if you go to the internet, when you run ads, when you put your brand out there, if that brand, people don't get a chance to try your stuff. People don't know you're reliable. People don't know you're consistent, because these are leads that you're trying to generate, right? When you run ads, you're publishing your brand. And when your expectation is like, I want them to call me. Well, the reality is if they don't trust you or they don't see like reliability, they don't get to try your product, they don't get to feel it, they will not even take the action to even click on your ads or even go to your website. So I want to establish like the importance of trust, because if your brand has low trust factor, your cost per lead will be high. This is where your trust and your ads is impacted by your advertising. Okay. Remember in the beginning, I asked you guys, what is the single linchpin that makes all your marketing fail? Google reviews. That's right. Google reviews is powerful. That builds a lot of trust. Transparency also builds a lot of trust. All right. So when you're putting a brand out there, if you don't have good reviews, if you don't have good transparency, good communication, good website, beautiful website, all of these affects the trust factor. And if this trust factor drops, your cost per lead goes up. Heck, you might not even be able to give away anything for free, right? Now, what are the 5? So for us, for Infinity Marketing, we categorize building trust into 5 categories, okay? All these things you guys have mentioned, these are great, but there are more specific things that we can target so that you guys can start creating an audit in your own business. Okay, this is the 5 principles I want to give you. It's called the 5 C's of trust for branding purposes. All right, the first one is character. So a lot of you guys mentioned all the good qualities of a human being: reliability, consistency, excellence, right? These are character traits. How would you look at your own business and define your character? What would it be? Now, if you go to Goldman Sachs or any MBA program, they call this core values. You should ask yourself in your own company, do you have core values? Right? And how does core values operate with marketing? How does it work? Well, core value defines the company culture, right? The character of the human beings, your employees, as leaders. When we hire people, we expect a certain behavior for people to work inside your company. And the same people is going to provide the services to your clients, right? Even if you're not a service oriented, the product of the human being, the character of the human beings will produce a product, right? So they're still looking at the character of the person that made the food, okay, or made the whatever, the shirt, t-shirt, shoes, whatever it is that the product you guys are making, right? So character will always be evaluated. If you don't publish your core values on your website or your advertising or as one of your trust building factors, you're missing out on the opportunity to create a perception that you are a good company. A good company is not defined by just quality. Quality is like a piece of it. Character is also a value need that they need to have, Okay, so a couple examples could be integrity, timeliness, problem solving, right? Compassion, hard work, diligence. Okay, so these are a couple of examples. Teamwork, you can have that too. Fun, joy. Some people have core values and they don't put the word fun, so the company is like very dry. Just gotta keep it in there. The next thing is chemistry. Just because you're a good person or a good company doesn't mean that they will like you, right? Because what needs to happen to have a good relationship, besides knowing that you're a good person, is I have to like you, right? If we don't like each other, can we work each other even though we're good people? Do they want to work with you if they don't like you? So how can we demonstrate chemistry? So what I would like for you guys to consider is like, what is your customer service like? How do you treat a customer? How do you communicate to them? How do you talk to them? Right? It has to be defined. And once you have these two C's, this is going to be part of your brand. You have to create a brand that's trustworthy. Now, I'll give you another example for the customer service that I think most people don't do is when you want to demonstrate that you have good chemistry or customer service relationship, create a client journey process from before they buy all the way until purchase completion, or even better, long-term relationship, recurring customer, returning customer, all the way to the as long as your company exists, right? The chemistry explains how you have a long-term relationship. That's two. This is how you can really create raving fans. Okay. Now, Doug is here. Raving fans is a big deal. A good character and a good chemistry will build raving fans. Number three, competency. I think this is the simplest. Everybody understands how to perform their services in their product. If you're in insurance, you know a lot about insurance, healthcare industry, Medicare, Medicaid, HMO, PPO, healthcare benefits, golden handcuffs, all that kind of stuff, right? But you guys got to go find that edge. What is the edge of your competition? Why are you good, right? But not just make a claim. And I don't want to hear like standard, like we're gold standard or we're high quality. That's not enough. And plus on top of that, it's not inspiring. It's not engaging. Right? So how do we demonstrate our competency is great? Well, besides making the claims and unique selling proposition, try metrics. Try get some measurements. If you've done roofs, how many roofs have you done? If you've done repair, how many repairs have you done? If you like, don't just calculate the existence of your business. Take the experience of your team members. Every single one of your team members, your roofers, they all have done roofing. You can put their experience into your company experience, and it enhances your company's competency because you work hard to hire these high quality people, these high quality employees, high quality team members. So you have to highlight those things. So metrics is a good way, right? The next thing is some case studies. Case studies can demonstrate specific problems that you have, right? Highlight the specific individual, like in terms of an industry. If you want to get more, let's say if you want to get more retail market, then you should have more retail examples and case studies. If you want more lawyers as your customer, then you should have a case study for a lawyer and demonstrate and address those problems. All right, so you got 3 C's so far. You got the character, which is about your core values. You got your chemistry, which is whether your likability, your customer service. Now you got your competency, right? Number 4, Moose said it. If you want to build trust, you got to build credibility. That's definitely, this is probably one of the strongest and the hardest thing for people to build. Everybody can invent the first 3. You guys can make it your own. You can make it up. You can create your own core value. You can create chemistry. You can create competency. But the credibility is a result of the first 3 that you guys have done. Okay? If you guys have executed the first 3 to be really well, what I expect is what Moose was saying. You should get 5-star rating. And it should be demonstrated. You should have a lot of followers on Facebook and social media. If you don't have any of these public signals, okay, not by your word, but your fans saying it, how can anybody else trust you and measure? It's like when you want to hire somebody, you look at the resume, you always look for referrals, right? Like, hey, can you give me anybody I can call so I can, vet you out, right? On the resume at the bottom, they put the referrals, right? So they can cross-check the resume. The same thing's happening here. The more, the better. Okay. I have seen many businesses fail or extremely successful just by Google reviews alone. Just want to give you guys how powerful Google reviews are, how powerful Facebook followers are, how powerful Yelp reviews are. Angie's List, if you're on there, the reviews are the single most important thing on those areas. That is the first thing that they're going to look at. The higher the volume of reviews with the quality, the cheaper it costs per lead. All right. So credibility. Okay, go back one more. The last thing is this. The cause. Now, people need to know the mission of your business, the purpose of your business. Okay. Why does your business exist? Now, the question is like, Vincent, why is the mission of the business important? Well, what if a company has a mission that is not in alignment with your personal values, whether it's political, religion, or any of these things? If you guys need to say it, like whatever it is that you guys want to do. What I'm here today, I'm here because I want to help everybody grow their business. That's my mission. That's my heart. Everything I do, why? I already told you why. Because if I can help you grow your business, you guys can hire more people and you can bless people's lives through providing a livelihood for the people and the families, right? And it bless the community. That's my reason. And for you guys, if you guys don't define that, if they don't trust you, you're not going to win them over if they don't know your motive. It's like somebody walking up to you and say, hey, I want to give you $1 million. What's the first thing you're going to ask if a stranger walk up to you and say, like, I want to give you $1 million? You're going to question their motive. You're going to ask, why are you giving me that $1 million? Well, that cause, this mission explains that one thing. Explain the motivation. If you make $100 million in your business, what are you going to do with that money? Right? So it's kind of like that kind of mindset, what they want to do. All right. Now, I know this is like a good break here because I think still got some time, 20 more minutes. It's a good break. Does anybody have any questions specifically about this before I move on to the next thing about the surrounding area about trust?
You can feel free to unmute your mics if you need, or you could drop it in the chat, guys.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna move on. All right. Oh, you got somebody?
So Vincent,
Yep.
the question I had was when you were talking about the chemistry, right? How do you treat your customers? You said, how do you convey that? So how do you convey that in your marketing other than, like you said, you just can't say we have the best customer service. We can't, how is that something give an example of maybe how you would do that in your marketing?
So typically, let's say a roofing company.
Okay.
You want to create a customer journey.
The journey. Okay.
The client journey expresses the experience with you. What happens when they work with you? Right? That's one way of doing it. I don't recommend. So on the selling portion, if you're doing one-on-one, you can go more details. But for the advertising, keep it simple. Keep it like 3 steps to 5 steps. It's like customer journey. Step 1, contact us. Step 2, we're going to give you some quote, or we're going to give you some advice, or we're going to give them something on step 2. Step 2, you gotta entice them to get something. What's in it for them, right? You can't just ask them to call you and you're not giving them anything. You have to sell the appointment. And I typically do that through the client journey steps, as easy as step 1, 2, 3, 1 through 5. Break down your entire process. So when they call you, they want to get to step 2, they want to get to step 3, and so forth and so forth. The other thing that you can do for customer service, for chemistry, is the guarantees, the warranties, because what happens is it addresses their fear when things go wrong. Because every relationship is not always perfect, and no company is perfect. I'm not perfect, but we have to have a way of recourse for reconciliation to fix what's broken. So sometimes on a chemistry side, we don't communicate that. We focus so much on the selling, but not so much on like what happens if things go wrong. Now, obviously, this is not a conversation you would need to do during the selling side of it, but you can publish it on your website, because what happens is this is kind of like the surface level things that they can check and see, which makes it easier for them to trust you enough to call you, but not trust you enough to buy, because the sales portion is where you can typically increase the trust factor even more through interpersonal relationship sales presentation. But given this is like more service, but if it's e-commerce, you can, if you have built enough credibility, you can see that they're willing to check out. Okay. I don't know how many of you guys are e-commerce. If you have e-commerce questions, let me know. I can address that as well, or more product based. Okay. Great questions. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So still got 15 minutes, so that's good. So before I move on, so this is right here is how we built trust, and how is trust impacting your marketing plan, your marketing strategy. Okay. Now, some of you guys are startup. I don't know what the size of business you guys are. Some with $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, wherever it is, right? Businesses go through phases based depending on their revenue, depending on their public perception, on their trust. Okay. I have worked with this. I'll give you a few examples and I'll walk you through this. I have worked with businesses that it's like been in business 20 years, never done online, never done internet, never done anything. And the entire business is slow growth across 20 years, and it's done through word of mouth, right? And then they have a new CEO. Hey man, we got to expand our lead channels, not just from referral. We also want social media, we want SEO, we want advertising, we want leads from website, we want to do trade shows and all these other stuff. But they never had any branding. They just had a good salesperson. They've done all that kind of stuff, and they just trust them by reputation. But there's not really anything defining that why the company is good, because everybody already trusts them because they trust their friend, they trust their mom, they trust their uncle, right? And that business happens. So in that type of business, I would still put them on phase one. Okay, so let me explain what phase one is, just to kind of give you a good idea. So phase one is looking at your own company and identifying what is good about your company. Why is it good? Or if you are a startup, you got to think of like, what is it that I really want to tell everybody so that they can trust me, believe me, want to work with me, and have a long-term relationship, right? Out of my service. But don't just look at it as a service, but look at it as a human being, right? Go over the 5 C's. So typically those 5 C's that I have, you guys should do your own exercise and go through it. I offer the service in the sense like I would consult you through it. I would have that conversation. I will guide you through it. I will, make a judgment. It's like, oh, that's engaging, or that's okay. Or maybe we can find something better, or maybe we can find something different, or maybe the brand identity that you have is not unique enough. Why? Because there's competition. You're also comparing yourself against other people. Just because you're good, they might trust the other person more. You guys equally good, but they trust the other person more, right? Especially if you have the same competitive advantage. You have no angle. You have nothing, right? Especially if you have more trust. So this is the part where we can kind of create niches where everybody else is already focused on. You try to find something different, try to reinvent yourself differently. Now, once you create the brand out of those 5 C's, the next step is to publish it and crystallize it into a document. Now, I do recommend having work like employee handbooks, your operation bylaws. All these things should be in there because this is your core values, right? If you have your core values, your employee has to reflect the core value you publish on the internet, on your handbook. So if anybody's advertising that we have integrity, but your employees don't have integrity, that's a misalignment. So we can't do that, right? So we built that website, we publish it. If you don't have a logo, you need a logo. This is basic stuff with branding. Social media setup, you need to have social media. Okay, why? So that they can verify if you're legit, not legit. Who was it, man? I had somebody ask me a question that nobody asked me, do I have an EIN or something like that? Essentially wanting to check if I'm legal, if I'm like a legal business or not, right? So social media profiles like Google Business, they establish your credibility in the sense like every business needs to have a website. Every business needs to have a Google Business profile on social media. I have a dear close personal friend of mine. He never used his website, and he had a big deal he was about to close, and it was one of the biggest deals in Houston in healthcare, and he didn't get it. The reason why he didn't get it because he didn't have a website, because the CEO tried to verify if this business is legit, and there was not a single digital footprint about this guy because he just wants to be anonymous. He doesn't want the limelight. And it ended up hurting him because he has no reputation, cannot be verified. So this is the reason why you would need it for somebody who needs to check on these things for verification to build trust. Okay, that's the first half. If you don't have any of these things, you know, you can get it made anywhere. You need to have it so that people can verify it. Now, once you have all these things set up, it just doesn't just sit there. Okay, this is phase one, by the way, at the bottom. Now comes the second half of phase one, which is now we got to go to work. First, you just build it. Now we go work, all right, on marketing plan. The most important thing you can do that probably has the most bang for the buck is your reviews. Reviews doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to go advertise. You don't have to, really, you just got to get customers. If you get customers, if you do a good job, even if you get one patient, one customer, if you're a startup, you're not busy with 100 clients. You're not busy with a million things to do. With that, a handful of clients of yours, maximize everything to get them to be so emotionally excited and love you that they're willing to write the reviews without you asking. Heck, get reviews to the point they get excited. They write paragraphs of reviews. Like, you know, go look at reviews. You can look at Infinity Marketing if you want to see it. There's some people that write long reviews. I didn't expect it. Some people even take pictures off their website and publish it, right? These are raving fans kind of things. Now, and the next thing is SEO. Reviews is good. You need to raise the reviews, get the numbers up. A good idea on the reviews when it comes to competition, take a look in your industry. Go to Google, type in the industry that you're in or the specific services that you're competing with. Take a look in the Houston market, whatever market that you're in. Take a look at the number of reviews and make a comparison with yourself. If you feel your advertising is not working, and then you see there's this guy that has like 10 times, 20 times more reviews than you, there's a big chance why your marketing doesn't work is because your competition has better reviews, or should I say better branding, because their branding on the internet has been established. They have created a credibility factor. Okay, local SEO is there so that you can get found on Google so people can read your reviews, and you need that. That's basic. That's like the most fundamental. If you build a brand, you build a website, but nobody can find your brand or read your brand, that's useless. How can they trust you if they can't even find you? But if people search for you and you're everywhere, that builds additional credibility because it's difficult for you to be everywhere. It costs money to get everywhere. But if you're everywhere and they search and they see your name on roof repair, they see your name on roof replacement, or they see your name in kids dentistry, and then they see your name on braces or boutique dental or cosmetic dental, and your website shows up everywhere, they're going to start like, oh man, this business is pretty established. They're everywhere, right? People say that they're everywhere. So another thing that you can do, this is kind of like 1.5-ish, okay? Everything that I mentioned to you, it's probably the most low-cost marketing that you can do, and this is what basic startup needs. That bullet point at the bottom says brand awareness campaign. That is advertising. This is when you don't have any clients, you don't have any customers, you don't have any reviews, you have no starting point, you cannot even get a word of mouth, which I think you should have good word of mouth, because you should have a relationship with people that's willing to take a risk on you and try you out. Brand awareness campaign provides the outlet where when those things doesn't work, let's try some advertising. We publish our brand, like whatever it is, unique selling proposition, dominant selling idea, testimonies, videos, reviews, case studies. You advertise all that because you want people to see what you have done and you want to get a reaction. Now, if you don't have a lot of reviews, if you don't have a lot of case studies, you just only have a website, you're really expecting people to want to buy from you out of faith instead of out of fact-based trust, right? You want fact-based trust instead of blind faith. They just say, they go to your website, buy now, I'm great, sign up today. They put the form first. It's like meeting a girl. Before getting to know the girl, you already ask, hey, you want to go out with me, right? That, by the way, don't build websites like that, okay? Don't buy a website. The first thing you do is like, buy from me today, when you only put one sentence and you say, this is how you buy. No, you got to give them a reason to buy, right? Get to know, like, tell them about who you are first. And once you do that, then you can ask the question. When you build a website, do it that way, okay? Video testimonial. You can also advertise your video testimonial. But to do that, you need to make videos, right? Video testimonials is probably stronger than even reviews if you can get a quality testimony that can give you details, case studies, willing to reveal themselves, being vulnerable, right? These are the keys to strong testimonials. And also you can get voluminous testimony. If your product is short and simple, just ask them, hey, why would you recommend Infinity Marketing? Why would you recommend NIA? Just 30 seconds, just one question, right? But sometimes you can have a question like this, up to 5 questions maybe, that you can just ask them, and then they can give you the answers and you can just publish it. And it doesn't have to be like a fully big production. A cell phone is good enough. Why? Because it's authentic. Okay, this also helps build trust. Okay, team photos. We're talking about company culture, transparency, core values, customer service, It also helps to know that you guys are humans, right? To be able to connect to them, give them a face, give them the company culture. If you have Facebook, social media, publish your birthdays, publish your anniversary, celebrate your wins. You know, like if something bad happens, like ask for support and all kinds of stuff, provide some kind of, make it an opportunity to help people, right? These things are very, very helpful to build trust. But sometimes people want to just get to the sale, but it takes more than that. Now, what is phase 2? Okay. Phase 2 is when you want to scale your business and actually generate leads. Everything that I'm doing is set up to build that strategy, to build that trust in that brand. Once we feel that you guys are getting enough reviews, enough testimony, then what we can do, we test to go to phase 2. To go to phase 2, you gotta test results. What are we looking for? We're looking for leads. Or more specifically, you should be able to get leads through advertising if you have a good brand. If you have a bad brand, you're not going to get a lead. But the problem is people would troubleshoot the strategy, the ads, or ideal customer profile, or your service, or your offering. All of that is fine and good. But what's neglected majority of the time is how do we build the credibility of our business over time? So yes, you can make offers and all that stuff, but don't forget in investing money to build videos, testimony videos, get those reviews. How can we build case studies? How can we document the stuff? How can we publish it? How can we creatively get in front of out of sight, out of mind, right? When your cost per lead is within, if it works, it's typically high in the beginning. When you run a test, typically, let's say you're in a roofing company. In the beginning, it might be $700 cost per lead. It might be $1,000 cost per lead. It might be $600 cost per lead. The minimum budget, by the way, I recommend is about $1,000 per month on advertising. If you do too little, there's not enough sample size, so you can't get valuable data and insight, or you might draw wrong conclusions because it's like you wanting to do a mailer and you only buy 100 postcards and mail it. Right? That's not enough volume. You might need like sample size of 1,000 to 1,000 or more people. Okay. Or properly speaking, according to statistic, a percentage of the population. Okay. So if you want to target a zip code and there's 30,000 people and you spend $1,000, that's enough, but that's just one zip code. One zip code in Houston is about 10,000 to 30,000 people in one zip code. Okay, approximately. There's probably more than that, but that's a good idea for you to kind of measure it and make sure your sample size is good enough. Now, what are you looking for in that sample? You want to look for your cost per lead. You want to look for your engagement, your click-through rate, how many people you're seeing it, and then you want to segment it Facebook versus Google, and you need to install measurements. You got to measure conversions. You got to measure your phone calls, how many phone calls you get. Earlier, I mentioned that your cost per lead can also be determined if you don't pick up the phone. Okay. Or even worse, somebody fill out, request an appointment and nobody calls that client back and follow up. Okay. Your cost per lead goes up. So make sure if you guys are running advertising, make sure your intake team to generate the lead is on top of it. Pick up your phone, reply every email promptly, especially if within the hour on the email. Okay. On the email, you do within an hour. Heck, man, even 5 minutes is even better. On the phone, it's better for you to pick up. I have earned businesses from the internet because they told me literally on the phone, Vincent, I called 4 other marketing agencies in Houston and they're all the top in Google. You're the only one that picked up. Just like that. Like I tried, they didn't pick up. If they didn't pick up, I don't want to call them twice. Okay? Because they're not available and they want that availability. If you say like, hey, our customer service is great, then there should not be a missed call. Okay. Now, when do we pass the test on phase 2? We pass the test if the cost per lead is lower, right? But how do we get the test to be lower? Well, if you run the ad and the cost per lead is very expensive, I would say, let's stop doing your advertising and let's improve on your brand. Let's get more reviews. Let's get more photos. Let's get more case study. Let's get more testimonial videos. Maybe wait 3 months. And then after you wait 3 months, you build that up and then you run the ads again. 100% of the time, every time the review goes up, the cost per lead goes down. If you guys want to know why your marketing doesn't work on your reputation and your reputation will work for you. Okay. Now I'm going to wrap it up. There's 2 more phases, but these 2 phases are only for businesses that already have established them automated marketing strategy and they already have leads all the time, right? Once you get to a point where you're spending like $20,000, $50,000 per month on ads and you're generating like 100 leads per month or something like that, on the back end, you should have thousands of customers. What's missing in the marketing plan is for you guys to go back and reach out to your existing customer through newsletter, social media, a phone call. In dental practice, they're great. They have to call them back. It's called a recall. Why? So you can get repeat business. That's one. Okay. I also like to say it is easier for your customer to rebuy from you than to work on a new customer to buy from you because your existing customer already trusts you, whereas your new customers, they don't really know you. So they may not trust you, right? So phase 3 is a good way for you to upsell, sell more services. And a lot of times people do not figure out to do this. I want to give you guys some mathematical calculation. If you have 100 clients and your average client is sitting at $1,000 per month, and then you can upsell them by $500, your business already increased by 50% on your overall revenue, right? So, and it's so much easier to sell to your existing customer. So do that. What's phase 4? So once you get all that handled, operations should be running good. Phase 4 is either introduce a new service or open a new location or franchise or a new territory for a new market share. Okay, so I am right. I think I'm right on time. Great. Now I'm gonna leave it to Q&A. Does anybody has any questions for me overall?
I do.
All right, everyone, go ahead. Feel free to unmute and let it rip.
Vincent, I do. I have a question.
Yep.
For those of us that use LinkedIn a lot, recommendations are super powerful. Would you agree?
Yes, recommendations is powerful because you're borrowing trust from the person who recommended it.
Mhm.
Yes, referrals, recommendations, strategic alliance. It's a slightly different. It's a marketing strategy, I would say, right? But it's not what you call a traditional.
Sure. I'm very blessed because of our NIA software. I have 91 5-star reviews.
Yeah, so I know I'm glad that you brought that up. I have this one thing I kind of want my strategies. There you go. This one right here. I know that we're talking a lot of different things here, guys, But this right here, the strategy type of awareness, you got word of mouth, you got advertising, you got networking, and strategic partner. Every single one of these areas, you got to figure out a way, how do we insert the trust factor on each one of this? Networking, depending on the people, right? Like the NIA is great. And then I know Moose, I know some of the people there. If you go to Goldman Sachs, it's another way of networking. You have like everybody there knows they're getting an MBA learning program through the Goldman Sachs. So they're like, everybody in the Goldman Sachs, they're like, oh, you know, these are business individual that's more on the high intellect side that really cares about running their business, creating systems and operations. Okay, so it doesn't matter what advertising strategy that you use, as long as you focus on that brand consistency and that trust factor, you just keep on infusing it. That's how you measure your cost per lead. If your cost per lead is high, the first thing I want to do is like, what can I do to improve the trust? Or maybe I'm not talking to the right person. Our values don't align. Okay. A good example about values, I know we talk about character. It could be mindset. Like, I prefer working with business owners who really want to scale their business from 1 million to 10 million and plus, rather than some businesses, they just want to be like, hey, I just want, you know, 10 leads a month and I want to stay that way. You know, it's nothing wrong that they're there, but they're not my ideal customer profile, right? But the difference between those two business owners is their mindset, right? So the values are not aligned. Like Vincent, you just want to scale. I just need stability. That's like two different needs or values. So those are slightly different. So just because you have a need for the specific product, the psychological profile might not match. So sometimes that needs to be adjusted. Good question, News. Any other question?
Vincent, do you guys have clients all over the country, or do y'all just specific to Houston?
We have clients all over the country. We even run campaigns for oil and gas companies internationally, because they travel to Africa or South America and they want to do spot trade shows when they were flying over there. And it was a pretty rare case that I did that, and we got leads. So I was like, oh, it did work. We got leads. The reason why is because the company was established in that network in that area, and when they're want to do more research on Google, the ads is there to catch these people, because you're there in person networking, and then they Google you, right? And there's like a big event like BizX or something like that, and then you go in there and then you run advertising and you meet somebody. Hey, Moose, my name is Vincent from Infinite Marketing. Oh, I like this guy. Let me Google him. And so Moose, you're going to Google him, but you have an ad running on that location. Guess what? You search for marketing. I'm going to be the marketing company that shows up, and they got a lead that way. That was the marketing strategy. It was pretty rare, but it works.
Interesting. Hey, Vince, I think there's a question in the chat someone asked.
Okay.
It says, what is the most effective ad options at the least cost?
The most effective advertising option with the least cost. The most recently, I actually just went to a seminar in Dallas, and this guy, he did not run any ads, did not spend a single dollar on advertising. He did social media, videos. Now, there's a caveat. I don't know what industry. Larry, what industry are you in? If you don't mind answering, just so that I can answer more directly instead of being more generic. Social media is good. If you have a lot of product base, you can use it in many use cases. They have a product that they're basically using their product in different case studies, and they're producing so many. The product that they were doing is a air suspension for mudding and off-road. So they put in all these crazy things. They stab it, to puncture it, to kind of create it. So social media is good. Now, the problem with social media is that people don't do enough of it. They just want to do 1 post a month, 2 posts per month, 3 posts per month. Social media shelf life is less than a few minutes. You just scroll, right? So in order for you to have effective social media, service sharing documents. Okay, service sharing documents. So yeah, I think posting a lot of social media posts of document shredding and many shapes or sizes, or maybe time frame, or maybe like how big the volume is, because it has that kind of what do you call it when you're just watching people laying bricks? You just sit there because you're just kind of hypnotized by looking at people shaving or sculpting or cleaning or restoring. I think sharing document can have that effect. You know, social media is definitely one of the best ways. Next thing to social media, yeah, bookkeeping. Social media, not so much on that one. That's kind of hard. The only thing, if you want to do social media, I would say accounting errors, advice. You don't have to do long format, just do a lot of volume, a lot of advice. So social media is the cheapest because you guys can show how much of an expert you are by teaching on social media, and then it will build trust that way. Now, the other part of it is that they know how to do it, but they can't execute it, and then so they want to hire you. That's what social media can do. Oh yeah, nonprofit, especially nonprofit. I think nonprofit has a very, depending what it is, but specifically you want to know the groups. If you're a nonprofit, you can go to Facebook group, LinkedIn groups. There's all these. Yeah, there you go. Community. There you go. The veterans community. Facebook groups. Obviously, it's as moderators, but if you're a nonprofit, they're typically very friendly for those kind of stuff. The next thing I didn't mention to answer that question, what is the cheapest, most effective? Guys, your reviews. Your reviews on your website, your followers on Google. Get your own clients to write it. The biggest challenge for the reviews is that people don't know when and how to ask for reviews. People think building reviews is easy. People are only willing to write reviews if they are in an ecstatic emotional state. When they are just like in a mediocre state, they're not going to spend the time. That's why the best time to ask for a review is at the height of the dopamine hit. Somebody mentioned dopamine hit. When you know when a dopamine hits, that's when you ask them, hey, do you mind? Hey, how's everything? Oh, it's great. They're going to say yes. The next thing you say is like, hey, do you mind writing a review for us? What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say yes. So when they say yes, you're like, you ask them, can I show you how? That's the thing. You have to let them do it then and there. You have to do it with, thank you, Andrew. You got to get either a QR code or here's another way. May I borrow your phone? So you take the phone, open your Google business thing or social media, whatever, take them to the review section, give the phone back to them. Okay. I know that the owner sometimes can do this because you're motivated, but then your employees are not. If your employees are not motivated, I recommend don't bribe the customer. Okay. If you bribe the customer, one bad customer can be like, they bribe for their reviews and boom, that will ruin your trust. That's why I don't recommend it, but some people do it. That's on your own risk. My recommendation is incentivize your own employees. I had an employee when we were doing with the dental office, we did $10 per review. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody was motivated. We up it to $20. Everybody was motivated. We got like 500 reviews in a year. They already had thousands of patients. They just never asked it. And they see the patients all the time. They never ask for reviews. But then you incentivize your team, hey, $20 for every time you get a review, verify it with me, and I'll give you cash. They'll do it. Incentivize your team to generate reviews. They're going to be your front line to generate those reviews. Generate reviews is easy because people are not willing to ask the tough questions and really working through it. And sometimes they don't even, sometimes people don't want to ask reviews because they know they do a bad job.
Makes sense.
We are going to use our drivers. Yep. To service our accounts, customers we know. So, yep. Thank you for following me, Andrew. We did the same thing with Allstate because, yep, exactly. Guys, I have this conversation about trust is so important because I'm honest with you guys. Most of my clients, when they make it successfully long-term with me, it's because we are constantly not just working on the ads. We're constantly working on the testimony, on the reviews, and building case studies. Forgot to tell you guys the benefits of case study. It builds your SEO for your online web presence. Okay, especially if you want a specific industry, do case studies. Great comments, great questions. Any other questions? I think I can take maybe one more question.
Vince, I'd like to add 2 quick points if I could.
Yep.
One is going to break your heart for all you hardworking entrepreneurs who are so busy and have so many balls in the air. But I recently attended a conference like this, and it said that we should be spending 30% of our time creating content. And I'm staring at a tripod and a microphone every day trying to figure out how to do it. But if you know, it goes to the point about how transient posts are and how often you have to do it. So, you know, that's a goal to strive for. Number one. Number two, I just read a great book called Who Not What. Who Not What. And it's a great book about delegating things so that you can find time to do 30% of the time on content. And then the last thing I wanted to leave is, if you look down on your app at Network in Action and you do not see a little square box that says request a review, please get with your franchise owner. This is free software that goes to the heart of what Vincent's talking about, where you can get more 5-star reviews. When they're in that dopamine, when they're in a happy place, they're never going to answer as fast as they will if they get a text. And so that software that would cost you about $2,100, and you get it for free as part of your membership. So make sure you see that on your app or desktop. It just says request a review.
I just sent one to Vincent.
Thank you. That's be very helpful. Yeah, man. So thank you very much, everybody. I'll wrap up with this, guys. If you guys are interested to have a conversation with you, I would love to have a conversation to go over your business for free, just to kind of see where you're at. But if you're interested in running some ads with us, we're offering 2 months free advertising management, which is $1,000 value. And we can run ads for 2 months with a minimum budget of $1,000 per month. Okay. So that's just a special offer for you guys. I don't really offer this to anybody else. And this is because of Moose is a special friend of mine. And I'm just exclusively for you guys at NIA.
That's very generous.
So yeah, with that, thank you very much, guys, for listening to me. I appreciate your time.
Vincent, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time and expertise.